Hi guys, it is Aoife from Freddy's Died Laughing and I'm here with another weekly wrap up. And as you can probably tell, the camera is slightly different today because I had a little bit of an accident this morning and water has spilt all over my camera, and I don't know how long the water was leaking into the camera because it spilled out of my water bottle. And long story short, my camera is not working. I've done the bag of rice trick all day, just tried it, still not working. So I don't know what I'm going to do. It doesn't look like the camera is going to dry out or turn back on. I might have to, I don't know, bring it to a camera shop, see if they can fix it. If not, save up to buy a new camera. So for today I am filming on my iPhone, which is great, back to the old days, but filming on a camera is just so much easier. So yeah, so I'll just get straight into the books that I read. The first book I actually finished last week and I meant to talk about it in my wrap up last week and I completely forgot, and that was Mad About the Hatter by Dakota Chase. This is an Alice in Wonderland kind of spin-off. And it is about Alison's brother Henry, who ends up in Wonderland and he meets up with the Hatter. And the Hatter has actually been employed by the Red Queen to bring Henry to her so she can chop off his head. And the Hatter is intent on doing this because it means that the Queen will actually not chop his head off. And he ends up actually really liking Henry and kind of having some doubts about whether he wants to lead Henry to his death, basically. And then they kind of end up working together to try and figure out a way they can save Wonderland from the tyrannical queen that is the Red Queen. So yeah, this was actually really good. I didn't really know what to go into it. I've seen kind of poor reviews on it, but I ended up actually really enjoying it. I just thought it was really funny. I really liked the relationship between Henry and the Hatter. That was lovely. And I also really enjoyed all the different kind of quirky, funny things that were happening in Wonderland, and the different kind of realms of Wonderland that they went through, the different parts of Wonderland that were just like completely crazy. I really enjoyed that, and I just really enjoyed this take on Wonderland. I just thought it was really unique and really creative, and I really enjoyed it, so I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read I actually have a full review on, which is Stand By Me by Judi Curtin, and I am not going to talk about this much because I do have a full video review on it, but I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It's about two friends who have a know of a shop, which means that they can travel back in time, and they just go on all these adventures with this shop. So yeah, I will leave the video link for that somewhere on the screen in the cards if you want to go and check out my review for this book. The next book I finished this week was The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanna. This is a book I read for a book club, and I'm actually really glad I read this. This is one that I probably would not have picked up otherwise. I ended up really enjoying this. This is set in, I think it's set in the 70s in Britain, and it's where this woman goes missing on this road, and no one knows where she is. Her husband is going mad looking for her, and there are these two little girls. They end up trying to figure out, they end up like coming up with this plan that if they can find God, somehow they can help find this woman. So they end up going on this like mission that they're going to find Jesus and going to find God in this estate that they're living in. And they go around and talk to all their neighbours, who are all like these really funny, quirky, very British people. And as the longer this woman is missing, the more it seems that there's this secret between all the neighbours that have been in this road, that have been living on this road for a very long time. And it seems like something happened in the past that they're trying to keep secret. And bit by bit, things kind of start coming to light, and we start to figure out this big secret that they all are keeping together. And it's just really funny. This is really humorous. It was really funny. The mystery of it was just nice. There was nothing really like nasty or anything about this book. There was just this real funniness to it. There was a really lovely innocence to the two children in this book because, you know, looking for God. And I just feel like you wouldn't be able to have kids in like a book set in modern day be like that, because, you know, they don't have the internet and they don't have video games and stuff. Like the games they play are like Monopoly and board games, and I don't know, there's just this really lovely innocence to it that I just really enjoyed throughout the entire book. And even though parts of this book are obviously being kind of narrated by a 10-year-old, this is a book for adults. It's not a YA book or a children's book. It is a book for adults, but I really enjoyed this. I just thought it was really well written. It was really humorous. It was just a really lovely story, and I definitely recommend it for people. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if you guys can tell in this video, but I think I'm starting to get really sick, and there's going to be a lot of editing in this, I can tell you, because I've been sneezing all throughout this. So, okay, the next book that I have finished is Final Girls by Riley Sager. This was given to me by Penguin Random House for an honest review, and this is one that's had quite a lot of hype. This is about this girl called Quincy, and she is a final girl, which means that she was the only person to survive this murder that happened when she was younger. She went basically to this kind of cottage in a woods with a bunch of her friends, a bunch of her college friends, and they were all murdered by this crazy man. They were all stabbed to death, and she is the only one that survived. And she knows of these two other women, a girl called Lisa and a girl called Sam, who are also both final girls. They also had their own kind of terrible tragedy happen where they were the only one left surviving. And then Lisa ends up being murdered, and Sam shows up on Quincy's doorstep, and basically the two of them end up kind of working together. They don't know if there's someone out there that's kind of killing off the final girls or what the story is, and it kind of goes from there. This actually ended up being, wasn't sure, I thought it was going to be really, really fast paced. It actually wasn't that fast paced for me. It was slow at the start. The first half of it I thought was quite slow, and then it ended up picking up a lot near the end of it. I did enjoy this. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Obviously I don't want to say too much because it's a thriller, and I don't think you should say too much about thrillers ever. There were some stuff for me that seemed a little bit obvious at times, but it was one of those ones as well that I was kind of like, ooh, this actually happened, but no, this happened, but this happened, but maybe it was actually the first thing I said, and I kept kind of like jumping around and changing my mind about what had happened, and some of my guesses did turn out to be right. But the thing is, I never really solidly stayed on those guesses. I ended up guessing a load of other things, like it kept making me second guess myself, I guess, this book. You really don't know what it's going to throw at you next, and I did really, really enjoy that. It probably wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit scarier, but I did quite enjoy this, and I gave it like a solid 3.5 out of 4 stars, and I do recommend it for people who really like thrillers. And the last book I finished this week is one that is very, very highly anticipated, and I was so happy I was able to get a digital arc off NetGalley, and that was Artemis by Andy Weir. So this is obviously the much awaited for second book by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian, and in this book, this is book set about on a city set on the moon, and it's the world's it's the only city on the moon, and we're following a girl, she's not a girl, she's a woman, a 26-year-old woman called Jazz Basara, and she is a porter. She works as a porter on this moon. She has grown up on the moon, and she's also a smuggler, so she's a little bit kind of like a low-end criminal as well, and she ends up getting employed to do this thing for this really rich guy, and it ends up going really, really wrong, and people end up dead, and she ends up having to run for her life as well, but she also ends up having to come up with a plan to save her city from being taken over by really, really bad people, and this is it's a little bit like a heist story, but not really, but I don't really know exactly what it is. It's like a little bit mystery, a little bit heisty, adventure kind of thing. Sci-fi, obviously. I think people going into this who are looking for another Martian are going to be really, really disappointed. This is completely different from The Martian. I do have a full written review for this as well, by the way, and I will leave that linked below. Just in case in my slightly sick state that I don't say everything that I want to say in this video. This is, I think, a good book in its own right, but it's not the same kind of style or the same, I don't know, I think The Martian is one of these books that everyone will love, even people who aren't really into reading, where this book I think is more for people who really, really like reading and really like proper sci-fi, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I don't know, I just feel that there are a lot of people who probably aren't necessarily really hardcore into reading that really enjoy The Martian and will read this and might be disappointed. There was a lot of info dumping right at the very start in the first chapter of this that had me a bit like, whoa, like slow down, I have no idea what's going on, and then it got a little bit better. And gradually I became like I got really used to Artemis, how it worked, what it was like, and I also think that the world building in this was really, really good. I really had like a proper solid idea of how Artemis worked, how it ran, how people lived on it, what it probably looked like, and I do feel that that was done really, really well. There's a similar conversational kind of tone in this book the way there is in The Martian, which is one of the things that makes The Martian so great. I really feel like that comes across really well in this book as well, so it's obviously something that Andy Weir is really, really good and strong at doing in his writing. I do think that Jazz is very, very different though to Mark Watney. I don't think she's quite as likeable. She's a little bit tough. She kind of plays tougher than she is at times. She kind of, I think there's sometimes she says things that are supposed to be funnier than they actually are. Like, I think they're hoping people will really like think this is hilarious what she's saying, and it's not that funny. It's okay, but it's not that funny. Some of the stuff was a little bit try hard. I kind of kept changing my mind better. I didn't know whether I liked her or if I disliked her, and it kind of kept jumping back and forth. There's also bits in this, like there's a lot of emphasis on people who are able to build stuff, I guess, on Artemis, like welders and ironwork and all that kind of thing. And Jazz is from a family that would be welders, and so she knows a lot about welding, and she's really, really clever, and she's able to do a lot of things, and that's kind of emphasised a lot, that she's like really, really clever and she can kind of do whatever she puts her mind to, but she wastes all her potential and stuff like that. And there was a lot in the book where Jazz keeps explaining everything she's doing, especially when it comes to building things and when she's doing all this welding work, and she keeps explaining everything and why this is happening and why this is happening. And for people who probably are really into science or really into like work like that, they probably really enjoy that, but I am not. So that stuff kind of got a little bit boring for me. Again, I don't want to keep comparing this to The Martian, but in terms of The Martian, I feel like we did have a lot of that stuff with Mark Watney, but because he was writing in a logbook, it made sense for him to be explaining everything, where I don't think Jazz explaining everything she was doing made that much sense, because it wasn't all the time like she was writing stuff down for other people to read. I don't know if that's come across quite as how I wanted to come across, but yeah, I hope you guys know what I mean. But overall, I did think this was it was a good novel. I just don't think it's not the best one I ever read, but it's not the worst one either. It was enjoyable. It just wasn't the best thing ever. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, I would recommend it for people to read. I would just say, don't go into it with really, really high expectations. Kind of just be prepared to, like it but not love it, I guess. So yeah, so that is everything that I have completed this week. Please let me know what you guys have read and what you guys are reading, if you read anything that I read, and I would love to know. So please let me know. So bye.